You simply cannot talk about Pawn Stars without immediately thinking of Rick Harrison. For years, he has been the face of the show, alongside his co-stars, entertaining millions of viewers through the doors of their famous Las Vegas pawn shop. Rick became known for his razor-sharp business sense, his quick wit, and his ability to strike a deal that left fans both impressed and entertained. He was easily one of the fan favorites, a central figure who helped shape the show's identity. But over time, stories began to surface about Rick's life away from the camera's stories that painted a more complicated picture than what viewers saw on TV. Fans and insiders noticed certain behaviors and choices that hinted at struggles behind the scenes. At the time, very few people paid attention to these signs, dismissing them as small or unimportant. But looking back now, many realize that we should have taken those warnings more seriously. When we think about Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison immediately comes to mind. He's not just a television personality who happened to get lucky. He is a businessman with decades of real experience, a man whose personal journey took him from a modest start to worldwide fame. Born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina, Rick grew up in a hardworking family that valued perseverance. His father, Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr., better known to fans as the Old Man, served proudly in the U.S. Navy before transitioning into business. In 1967, the Harrison family moved to San Diego, California. There, young Rick grew up in a bustling environment where he could observe commerce and the hustle of city life. Even at an early age, Rick displayed a natural entrepreneurial spirit. By the age of just 13, he had already started his first venture, selling fake Gucci bags to friends and neighbors. While small, this experience taught him valuable lessons about negotiation, persuasion, and the importance of spotting opportunities. As a teenager, Rick didn't stop experimenting. He dabbled in small businesses, often buying items at low prices and reselling them for a profit. These early experiences became the foundation of the business mindset that would later define his career. By the time Rick was 23, he had teamed up with his father in the coin and collectibles trade. This father-son partnership eventually grew into something much bigger: the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. The origins of the shop were humble and built on hard work. In 1981, Rick and his father opened their first location, a small 300-square-foot store on Las Vegas Boulevard South. At first, the shop specialized in coins and rare collectibles, but over time, its inventory expanded to include jewelry, memorabilia, and all kinds of pawned items. Opening the shop wasn't easy. Nevada had a law, established back in 1955, that limited pawn licenses based on city population. Rick kept a close eye on the census data, knowing that if Las Vegas grew large enough, an opportunity would arise. Finally, in 1989, when the city hit 250,000 residents, Rick applied for a pawn license and was approved. The gold and silver pawn shop officially opened its doors at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, paving the way for decades of success. Through the years, Rick worked tirelessly to build the shop's reputation. He became widely recognized for his sharp eye, his quick ability to evaluate items, and his deep knowledge of history and collectibles. His father, the Old Man, brought wisdom and discipline, while Rick's son, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, and his childhood friend, Austin Chumley Russell, later joined, giving the shop a true family-driven identity. Together, this group became the heart of what made the shop stand out to both locals and tourists. Rick's introduction to television came almost by chance. In 2003, the pawn shop was featured on Insomniac with Dave Attell, a late-night comedy travel show. That exposure caught the eye of producers Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines, who believed the shop could carry a reality series of its own. The concept was first pitched to HBO, but eventually landed with the History Channel. In 2009, Pawn Stars premiered and became an instant sensation. The show's success was built on a simple, yet powerful formula, combining history, negotiation, humor, and family dynamics. Rick's knowledge of antiques, coins, and collectibles quickly became one of the main attractions. His no-nonsense approach to negotiation, often blunt but always effective, gave the show its edge. Viewers admired his ability to balance respect with firm business sense. Outside the spotlight, Rick has lived a full and complicated life. He has been married 3 times and is the father of 3 sons, Corey, Adam, and Jake. Corey grew up learning the trade at his father's side and became a regular on the show. Adam and Jake, however, chose different paths. Sadly, in January 2024, Rick suffered a devastating personal loss when his son Adam died at the age of 39 from a substance overdose. Rick has since spoken openly about the grief, regret, and reflection this tragedy brought him. He has used the moment to stress the importance of family, love, cherishing every day. Rick's career has always reflected a combination of intelligence, persistence, and intuition. He built a reputation as someone who could quickly size up an item, understand its history, and make a deal that worked for both sides. His personality, sharp, witty, approachable, and deeply knowledgeable, helped turn a small family business into a cultural landmark. Today, fans don't just associate Las Vegas with casinos and bright lights. They also connect the city with the gold and silver pawn shop, a lasting symbol of American entrepreneurship and family resilience. But the influence of Pawn Stars went beyond simple entertainment. The show educated viewers about antiques and collectibles, while also showing the importance of negotiation, customer service, and history. It revealed the realities of running a family business, the challenges, the conflicts, the successes, and the balance between personal life and professional responsibility. Rick often highlighted values like honesty, fairness, and respect in business lessons that aspiring entrepreneurs could learn from. Still, behind all the glamour of success, there were shadows. On the surface, Rick's story looked like one of triumph, a self-made businessman who became a TV star. Yet, as the years went on, cracks began to show. Fans noticed that Rick's energy seemed different. He often looked more tired, less enthusiastic, and sometimes short-tempered both with customers and even with his team. At first, these moments were brushed off. After all, running a pawn shop and starring on television was no easy task. The stress was undeniable. The shop had transformed into a tourist attraction packed with visitors from around the world. At the same time, the show turned Rick into a household name. The fame, money, and constant spotlight were both a blessing and a burden. Some insiders said Rick no longer enjoyed the lighter side of the business, seemed less amused by small finds and more focused on the serious high-pressure aspects. Age and pressure were often blamed, but many suspected something deeper. Rumors began spreading, first quietly on fan forums, then louder among people connected to the shop. Was Rick burned out? Was he unhappy with the cameras? Was he carrying personal struggles the public didn't know about? So these questions only grew stronger when, after years of dominance, Pawn Stars was suddenly put on an indefinite pause. The announcement shocked fans everywhere. Some pointed to the changing television landscape, but others believed behind-the-scenes issues were the real reason. Rick himself stayed mostly silent, continuing to run the shop and meet fans without the cameras rolling. His silence only fueled more speculation. For many longtime followers, it was impossible to ignore that something had changed. The Rick they remembered, sharp, witty, full of energy, now seemed heavier, slower, and perhaps even sad. Looking back, fans now believe the warning signs had been there all along. His short temper, tired expressions, and change in tone were not just random moments, they were clues. Hindsight, as many say, makes everything clearer. And in Rick's case, it revealed that the story behind Pawn Stars was far more complicated than anyone could have guessed. Yet through all of this, fans continued to support him. They still visit the shop, they still remember his best deals, and they still consider him one of the most fascinating figures in reality television. But alongside that support comes a lingering sense of worry. What is truly happening behind the scenes with Rick Harrison? What truths are hidden beneath the bright lights of television? Now, let us take a closer look at the outcome of everything that has unfolded. The early warning signs were not the end of the story, but only the beginning. Over time, small moments and behind-the-scenes stories began to reveal secrets and observations that insiders had noticed for years, but that the general public often overlooked. These clues slowly started to point toward bigger problems. The real question became clear. What were the problems that truly changed Rick Harrison? For years, Rick Harrison was the face everyone recognized on Pawn Stars. He was seen as the smiling businessman who always had a witty remark, sharp eye for rare treasures, and a calm way of dealing with every type of customer that walked through. The door on screen, he appeared untouchable, like someone who had life completely figured out. But gradually, stories began to surface, and the perfect picture that fans had built around him started to crack. The first visible signs of trouble came from within his own family. In 2022, Rick's own mother, Joanne Harrison, shocked fans when she filed a lawsuit against him. According to her claims, while she was recovering from a coma, Rick had convinced her to sign away her majority ownership of the pawn shop. Joanne insisted she had controlled 51% of the business. But that Rick had taken over without her fully understanding what she was giving up. She also alleged that he had removed her from making financial decisions altogether. Rick, however, denied these claims, saying his elderly mother was being manipulated by outsiders who wanted to stir up trouble. Still, for fans, the case was hard to ignore. Watching a son and mother battle each other in court over money and power made many begin to wonder if Rick was truly the same man they thought they knew from television. Family heartbreak did not end there. In early 2024, Rick faced one of the darkest chapters of his life when his son, Adam Harrison, passed away from a substance overdose at just 39 years old. Rick posted a heartfelt tribute to his son on social media, but soon gossip sites and tabloids turned the tragedy into headlines. For Rick, this was not just news. It was the deepest personal loss a parent can experience. Losing a child is a wound that never fully heals, and fans began to ask themselves how much pain Rick had been silently carrying behind the cameras all along. The troubles weren't only limited to his family. Rick's longtime co-star, Austin Chumley Russell, who had been one of the most beloved characters on Pawn Stars, was arrested in 2016 on substance and weapons charges. While Rick wasn't directly responsible, the scandal still cast a shadow over the show's brand. Audiences began to see Pawn Stars not just as a light-hearted family series, but as a program linked to very real-life controversies to make matters worse. Another blow came when fans realized that not everything on Pawn Stars was as authentic as it appeared. Viewers had long believed the show captured spontaneous, real-life deals, but it later came out that many of the so-called customers were carefully screened and that even background shoppers were sometimes paid extras. Some loyal fans felt betrayed, saying the show had lost the genuine charm that once drew them in. While most reality shows rely on some degree of planning, learning that so much was staged left many viewers disappointed. Despite all this, Rick continued to appear on television and run the gold and silver pawn shop. Yet the energy around him had shifted. The show that had once been full of quick jokes and clever deals now seemed covered in dark clouds. Eventually, Pawn Stars was placed on an indefinite pause. For years it had been one of the most popular shows on TV, watched by millions across the globe. But scandals, lawsuits, personal losses, and doubts about authenticity weighed heavily on the brand. So, what exactly went wrong with Rick Harrison? Some argue it was greed. Others blame bad luck, family conflict, or the intense pressures of fame. Most likely it was a combination of all these factors. Fame can make a person look larger than life, but behind the camera, they still face betrayal, mistakes, and tragedy, just like anyone else. The difference is that Rick's struggles played out for the entire world to see. Looking back, there had been warning signs for years. Insiders whispered about business arguments, strained relationships, and subtle changes in Rick's behavior. Even fans noticed he seemed more tired, less patient, and not quite as upbeat as before. But many ignored these hints, choosing instead to believe in the television version of Rick, the man who always had things under control. The story of Rick Harrison is no longer just about a pawn shop or a reality show. It has become a reflection of how quickly life can change when fame, money, and family pressures collide. It is a story of how someone can appear strong in public, yet struggle privately. Most of all, it's a reminder that warning signs are often ignored and it's too late. Rick Harrison today is not just a television personality. He is a father, a fiancé, a friend, and a businessman who has endured both joy and heartbreak. In recent years, his life has gone through dramatic shifts, some filled with pain and others bringing new reasons to smile. One of the brightest changes came in early 2025, when Rick became engaged to Angie Palashkin. After losing his son Adam, Rick admitted that he felt broken inside, but Angie entered his life during a time when he desperately needed support. She brought comfort, laughter, and a renewed sense of hope. Rick himself has described their relationship as one that brings him light during dark times. Together, they enjoy traveling, attending concerts, tasting new foods, and spending quiet evenings with family. Angie has also grown close to Rick's children and grandchildren, strengthening the bond of his family life. Those who meet them often say they look genuinely happy, and Rick openly credits Angie with being a strong part of his healing journey. Still, past pain has never fully disappeared. Adam's passing left Rick deeply shaken. Adam had once worked in the pawn shop, but chose to live more privately later in life. His sudden death reminded Rick of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing time with loved ones. Since then, Rick has made a conscious effort to spend more time with his other sons, Corey and Jake, and with his grandchildren. He has spoken openly about how the loss of Adam taught him to slow down and value every moment with family, even as he grieves. Rick continues to move forward. He keeps himself busy not only with family, but also with business and creative projects. The gold and silver pawn shop remains successful, drawing visitors from around the world. While Rick doesn't work there every day, he enjoys stopping in, meeting fans, and sharing stories. He still takes pride in the business he built alongside his father and the reputation he has earned as someone who can spot the hidden value in unusual items. Beyond the shop, Rick has also embraced new opportunities. In February 2025, he and his longtime co-star Chumlee launched a podcast called Pawn After Dark. Unlike the heavily controlled format of television, the podcast allows them to relax, joke, and share behind-the-scenes stories in a more personal way. Listeners often describe it as feeling like sitting down with old friends. Rick has said he enjoys this platform because it lets his real personality come through. Away from the constraints of TV, but with fame also comes misinformation. In 2025, bizarre rumors spread online claiming that Rick had been sentenced to life in prison or convicted of fraud. Fake articles and images circulated on social media, confusing many fans. Thankfully, fact-checking sources quickly debunked the lies, proving that Rick remained free and focused on his work, family, and podcast. For him, these rumors were frustrating, but also a reminder of how powerful and dangerous misinformation can be in today's world. Looking at Rick today, we see a man shaped by both success and sorrow. He is still a businessman, a public figure, and a father who has endured unimaginable loss. His life now is about balance, managing his shop, connecting with fans through the podcast, and treasuring moments with Angie and his family. He has learned that money and fame cannot replace the value of family and love. Rick is now in his late 50s, knows the years ahead may not be as busy as the ones behind him, but he has set new goals: to keep his shop thriving, to grow his podcast, to travel more with Angie, and to stay present in the lives of his grandchildren. As for Pawn Stars, its future remains uncertain. Fans often wonder if it will return, but Rick seems at peace with the idea that life is more than television. From the outside, Rick appears to have found peace. He smiles for fans, records his podcast, and travels with Angie, yet those close to him know that behind the smile is pain that never fully fades. Losing his son left a permanent mark. Some believe Rick has grown stronger, while others sense a quiet sadness that lingers. In truth, he carries both light and shadow, joy and sorrow, resilience and fragility. Rick Harrison's story is still unfolding. He has faced loss, betrayal, and scandal, but he has also found love, healing, and moments of happiness. His journey is not over, and perhaps that is what keeps people watching. Nobody knows what lies ahead for him, but for now, he continues to move forward, running his shop, cherishing his family, and finding strength in the life he has built.